This program is brought to you by Training Tilt. Training Tilt is a complete toolkit for coaches, health and fitness professionals, and nutritionists. Combine your website, e-commerce needs, client communications, and training plans into a single affordable platform. For more information, please go to www.lisatamati.co.nz/training tilt.
Welcome to Pushing the Limits, the podcast that gets deep into the psyche of extraordinary achievers across all genres, cutting to the chase to unlock the secrets of their success, their achievement, philosophies, and motivations. Join us in the quest to find out what makes the movers and shakers of our world tick and what gems of wisdom we can learn from them.
Well, hi everybody, it's Lisa Tamati here at Pushing the Limits, and welcome to the show. Today I'm going to be talking and doing a solo cast around the themes of motivation and accountability. Now, I like to talk a lot about things in mindset and mental toughness and all of those sort of good things, but I've been thinking lately about how do you make it actionable. Now, we all know that we require a large amount of discipline to achieve the goals that we set out to do. But it's finding the motivation to keep that discipline going, if you like. So willpower alone, just relying on having that strength of character, isn't often enough for all of us. I know for me, certainly, it counts and helps when I have to be accountable. Accountability is really a great way of making yourself do something. Now, if go back to your days at school, and were you one of those people that had, when you had an assignment from the teacher and you had 2 weeks to do it and nothing got done until, a couple of hours before the deadline, perhaps, or a day before the deadline, and suddenly you knuckled down, you focused, and you got it done because there was a deadline, there was someone to be accountable to, and you had to achieve it. Now, this is one of the things that you can do in your life to make it work, because we're used to this sort of system. This is how we've developed as children, as young people, and if we can carry that on into adulthood, into our business goals, into our sporting goals, into our career goals, having accountability to someone, then that really helps us stay on track. But there are different sort of layers to this theme around accountability. Now, for a start, it's great to have a boss or a teacher or a mentor or a coach that you have to sort of check in with, and you have to sort of say, yeah, I've done the work, I've done the assignment, I've achieved the tasks that you set me out to do today, boss, and I've ticked the box. And there's nothing worse when you have to, front up and say, well, actually, I didn't get it done. So it's having finding someone who makes you accountable. And this shouldn't be someone like your best mate, because, they'll give you an excuse to get out of it. This should be someone that you respect and admire, that you look up to, and someone that will keep you on track. Now, the second layer of this sort of theme around accountability is also not just having a coach and a mentor, but also buddying up with someone, having a mate who's perhaps on the same journey as you are. So this might be perhaps if you've got someone who's doing the same sport and they're going for the same marathon goal, or someone who's on a similar journey to you. I know I've done this with my business. I've found and searched out other people who are in the similar industry, who are in a similar stage. Maybe they're 1 or 2 steps ahead of me, so that I can buddy up with them, and they can keep me accountable and I can keep them accountable. We can share information and we can share the journey, because when you see, your peers actually achieving and making something work, then it takes away your excuses for not making it work. If you're on the same level, or if you consider yourself actually to be slightly further ahead in the journey than they are, and you see them leapfrogging ahead, that's really good motivation for you to get sort of going. So it's having somebody that you can check in with on a regular basis, mate, that's someone who's a colleague that's in the same journey as you, comparing notes and helping each other. It's a bit like, the study group that you had when you were at school. And this also, you can extrapolate this out into having a team of people that where you all provide input to each other, support groups or networks or coffee meeting groups that you meet, every now and again to compare notes and to share your journey. And one of the great things that can come out of this buddy relationship or having a small team of people is the fact that it can get really competitive, and so-and-so is doing this and you haven't done it, and oh my gosh, that's it gives you that motivation to stay on track. And when you also see other people's successes who are on a similar journey to you, and they're succeeding, then it makes you think like, well, this is doable, this is achievable. If so-and-so can do it, so can I. So, having that coach or that mentor that's maybe, a few steps above you in relation to where you are on your progression ladder, and then having a buddy who's around about where you are, maybe a step or two ahead, and who you can provide value to, and they can provide you value. And then again, that team environment where you're having maybe 4 or 5 people that you can, meet up with every now and again and keep yourself accountable to those people. Now, one of the other things is being able to have, so once a week, having that person that you're accountable to, maybe that buddy or maybe your mentor, where you actually go over what is it the most important thing that you're going to achieve this week. I mean, and this you can do this also for quarterly or half yearly or yearly for your goals, and it's it's around setting goals, but it's finding the most important thing that you want to achieve this week. What is one thing on your to-do list that really stands out as being something that strategically is going to get you way ahead? And that one thing you need to be accountable to someone for tackling. And you might not get the whole project finished, but you want to be working towards that and being accountable for that. And when you find that deep work, I call it deep work, something that's really going to make a difference to your career, to your sporting goals, whatever it be, find that one thing that's really important. Okay, so we're not talking about the day-to-day to-do list and the chores and the emails that you got to get through and the sort of admin crap that you have to do. This is one project that and perhaps you've been putting it off because it scares you, or maybe it's daunting, or it's so huge. But if you can find that one thing every week that you're working on making happen, so you got to ask yourself, what's the one thing that would really make a difference if I actually achieved it and actually ticked it off my list and actually, ticked it off my bucket list. And so, and once again, this can be done on a quarterly basis as well as the weekly basis. Obviously, the weekly is going to be smaller tasks and smaller things to aim for. The quarterly and the half yearly, obviously much bigger goals for you to set. But it's getting to the most important things and not like setting aside time in that week or in that month to work solely on that product or that project, where you're not being distracted by the billion other things that happen to be on your to-do list. Because I know from my own experience, when I've got a big thing that I've got to tackle, recently I wrote a course called The Path of an Athlete, and this was a massive undertaking to write this whole program and then to get it technically up and running and linked to the right, the website, to the platforms and all of that sort of software stuff, and then the launch campaign. And I'm still in the middle of it, really. But I had to set myself deadlines and goals for achieving this part of the project, the next part of the project. And I found myself, dilly-dallying. I'd sit down at the computer to work on the project, and then I'll just check my emails. There's a message just come in from so-and-so. Anything to distract you from the hard work that's ahead of you. And sometimes you've got to set aside just those hours in the day or in the week where you go, no distractions, shut the door, kids go away, turn the telly off, turn all the notifications off on your computer, whatever it is, and knuckle down and do the work. And then you feel so much better. I know once I got started on that huge project and I got underway, and you sometimes you get into that real nice flow, that flow state where it's starting to tumble out and it's just wonderful, and reaching that flow state is a whole nother podcast. But find those things that are really tactically important, strategically important for your career, your sporting goals, your academic achievements, or whatever it is, and nail it down and be accountable to one person for getting that job done at a certain time with deadlines and sub-goals and priorities and whatever you want to call it, all right? The other thing is getting the right things done on your list. You know, like you can be busy all day, and I know with myself, I can be busy on the computer and I sit down to do something, and then there's a billion other emails that have come in, and I have to get them through, and not actually getting me forward. So it's doing the right things and setting a time aside to get those big projects dealt with, and prioritizing your time and your energy. Now, I find also that on that note, you know, when you're trying to do anything creative or productive or super important, it's often good, if you can, to schedule time in the morning for that, maybe when you're fresh. Or if you're a night owl, then that's fine too, schedule it for them. But wherever you're most creative and you've got the most energy in your brain to actually work on that project. There's no sort of use if you're always tired at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to schedule a time. Maybe schedule a meeting or whatever you have to get done for that time of the day when you're not actually, you know, your brain's not firing on all 4 cylinders, if you like. So that's pretty much it for today. Just some thoughts around accountability and setting yourself up a little framework to get to those all-important goals, and, you know, talk about goal setting all the time. But it really is so important to be able to achieve, to be productive, and to make things happen in your life and to make those changes. And, you know, the last thing is really, you know, it doesn't matter even how slow you're going, as long as you're moving forward towards your goals. Keep taking those tiny wee steps and getting there, and not giving up. That's really important. So accountability, find a coach, find a mentor, find a boss, someone who's going to yell and scream at you. Well, hopefully not literally, but you know what I mean. Someone that you respect and that you don't want to let down. Have a team and a buddy system where you have someone who's on you, who's you have to account to, someone that you can provide value to as well, and they can provide value to you. I mean, I've got a mate, Dr. Nick Kimber, which we've just had recently on the podcast, and we share notes a little bit on where he's at in his projects, you know, where he's developing his consultancy business and digital marketing and all that sort of jazz, and you share notes. You hey, this piece of software was fantastic. Hey, this really worked for me. That didn't work for me. Having those people really can help you, because why reinvent the wheel? Sitting here alone in your office or wherever you are, and not getting the help and the support you need, you know, can make it a much tougher journey than it needs to be. So whatever part of your life, whether you're needing a coach for your sport, for your running, you know, find someone who's been there, done that, who can give you the shortcuts and then hold you accountable. And the last thing I wanted to say around accountability, and I found this really, really important during, you know, when I've done humongous races and events and projects, was a public commitment to what I'm about to do. You know, I remember when I, you know, ran through New Zealand, that was a huge public commitment. It was a commitment to the charities. It was a huge investment to commitment to my sponsors who'd put money into the project, and I had to make it happen. And to be honest with you, I was standing on the start line going, I just want the hell out of here. I don't want to be here. I don't know how the hell I'm going to do it. But because I was so deep, and I'd publicly committed, there was no way out but through, because you're not going to throw your whole reputation, your honour, your integrity, everything out the window. When you publicly commit to something, you know, and whether that's just on Facebook or signing a blooming contract to you in front of your mates or whatever it is, that really makes you like, you've got to do it now. There's no way out, and it makes you do it. And, you know, there's all these little tricks. Another part of the thing is get some skin in the game. You know, when you're really invested in something, you're more likely to do it. When I've paid for a course, or I've bought a membership somewhere, or I've done something, I'm more likely to actually go, because I value what I've parted good hard currency for it. I'm not going to let it slide, So the more that you can have skin in the game, the better your motivation will be, and you'll be more accountable to yourself and to everyone else, because you've got something to lose. I've found just even with my coaching, the people that sometimes at the beginning I gave away hours free or time free and invested in people, and they didn't value it at all. And I really started to realize that people who really value you will give you what you're worth. And if you're not valuing yourself, and if you're not charging for what your skill set is, and they didn't have any skin in the game, in other words. It was easy for them just to take it or leave it, and they didn't find it that important. So, have some skin in the game. Make sure you put somebody on the line, or put something on the line, your time or your effort or your energy to make something happen. So that's it for today. I hope that's been helpful. Please go out and subscribe to this podcast. I would love you to do that. I have some wonderful guests on every week. I really search out some top-notch people from all around the world, from scientists to health professionals to business people and their secrets to doing things. It's always about providing value to you guys, and I really appreciate it if you subscribe, rate and review, especially on iTunes, which makes or breaks podcasts. And please, come and visit me on my website, lisatamati.co.nz, and check out that e-course that I just told you about. I'd love you to do that too. So thank you very much, guys, for listening, and I'll be back shortly with next week's episode.
That's it for this episode of Pushing the Limits with your host, Lisa Tamati. Please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe, and share all this goodness with your networks so we can impact more lives with positive insights and inspiring conversations. And check us out online at www.lisatamati.co.nz. That's it for this episode of Pushing the Limits with your host, Lisa Tamati. Please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe, and share all this goodness with your networks so we can impact more lives with positive insights and inspiring conversations. And check us out online at www.lisatamati.co.nz.